Hello everyone, it is Jess here from the Scrappy Sisters and thank you for joining me for a Kitaholic Kits design team layout. Now for this layout I was very inspired by this stunning original layout by Kylie Kingham. I just loved the stamped florals, and because we got that stunning stamp in our kit this month, I really wanted to use that stamp. I hardly ever stamp on my layouts and I really wanted to. So this layout fully drew my attention so that I could play with that stamp. Now I'm starting off by making my mixed media background, and I'm using the Vicky Bouton crayons that came in the kit, but I didn't particularly want the exact colours we got. So easy peasy, I'm just mixing myself up a little purple. Now the only downside in doing this is I couldn't exactly get the exact purple created again, because obviously I now need another splodge. I could have done a larger sort of, palette in the first place, but you never quite know how much or how little you're going to need. So what I'm doing, as you can see there, is I'm just getting a piece of packaging. I'm drawing with my crayon straight onto the packaging, and then adding some water with a paintbrush and just mixing the two colours together, so the pink and the blue together, to make my little purple there. Once I've added enough water that it's going to do the packaging technique, I then just package that down onto the page. And you can see how my two different coloured purples are just that little bit different. It's not super noticeable. And once I add all of my ephemera on top, you really won't notice. But I'm just going to do just a little bit more to sort of join the two center, to kind of join the two splodges together and make it look like they're meant to be, that they weren't two completely separate, areas of mixed media. Sorry, my words are not coming out. And just to sort of get it flowing together a little bit better. I do hit this with my heat gun because I then want to have a play with these crayons again, doing another technique, and the stunning stencil that came in the kit as well. So once this is dry, I end up getting the green out, and I draw that onto my piece of plastic. I'm just trying to rub in some of that pigment that was a bit rough. But I don't want such a grassy green. I want a little bit more of a teal. So I am adding a little bit of blue in with the green and just mixing all that together. Then I'm getting my brush, which is one of those makeup brushes from Kmart if you're from Australia, and then just rubbing that through the stencil. As you can see, it is not a super dark effect, but it is definitely there. And I do adore the way this looks rubbed through and onto the stencil here. It just adds another little something to this mixed media page. So I'm going to go again. It's not quite the teal that I wanted. It is still a little bit more green than I was going for, but it's okay. Again, once I add all of that ephemera in and all of the stamping and everything else that I'm going to play with, it will end up coming together really well. The next thing I'm going to work with is this next stencil, and I'm going to pull back the pink crayon again. Now, I attempted to draw with the pink crayon onto the plastic, but you can see it's not really coming out of the plastic very well. Also, I did really quickly wash my sponge just by rubbing it with the baby wipe. So it does still have a little bit of pigment left over from the other colours, but not very much. I ended up, I don't know if you saw that just then, I ended up literally drawing onto the hairs of my brush with the end of the crayon, and it worked much better. You can really see that colour coming out now, right across the purple and the green, and I just love the way that looks. I think that is just a perfect little something extra to add to the background of this page. So you can see here, by looking at those two papers I'm going to matte, why I wanted my green to be less grassy and more sort of blue, with that blue coming in. I totally missed the mark and did not get the colour I was going for at all, but it all comes together in the end. So I just hand cut a few tags for some leftover scraps. I actually got the shape of this tag by measuring one in the ephemera pack, so that's why it looks so pretty and perfect. And I just drew around the edge of the tags with my ballpoint pen just to add a little bit of sort of interest around the edge of each tag. I also distressed the edge of these two bits of card, of matte, I guess. I'm not really calling them a matte, even though they are one, because I imagine a matte is more tightly around the photo. These are almost more like layers underneath my photo, just to give my photo something to sort of anchor on top of that mixed media. The photo itself has been matted with a white piece of paper, but that's just got like a super thin border around the edge. Now I'm popping that up on foam, but I know I want to stick these guys in too, so I'm just planning everything out. There we go. So I put some tape down the left-hand side of that pink sheet of layer, but I haven't stuck it down yet because I knew I wanted to sneak these tags in underneath. So I just had to work out where they were going, and then I can go ahead and stick down, put that on there, and stick down that last piece of the pink. In fact, I'm watching this video back now, and I think I actually didn't stick down that bit of pink. So I left some double-sided tape there, so I might go pull the back off after this video and stick that back on. Give it a bit more of extra, hold. So I did pull these marquee chipboard thickers out of my stash. They're not thickers as such, they're literally chipboard letters. That's why I'm gluing them on. I just adored the way Kylie did this with her layout. I think that the double heading, the sort of double layer of heading, just really added something special to her layout, and I totally wanted to include that on my own. So I ended up writing the word "this," which is kind of a title all on its own. It's kind of, it's just about this moment, this now, this everything, which I really liked. But then I also used my silhouette and some gorgeous pattern paper to create a second layer, second title that you'll see in a moment that's going to go on top. Off camera, I stamped a lot of florals and butterflies. I think I used the entire stamp set except the word thanks 5 times, I think, maybe 6. To create all of these bunches and bunches of florals and flowers and leaves. And they are going to build my whole clusters up around the photos. Now this, with the Kylie Kingham layout, was what I was looking for. I knew I wanted to use stamping on my page, but I just had no idea how I wanted to go about it. And seeing Kylie's, this was what I wanted. I really wanted to get a whole bunch of those florals out, like you really use that stamp, but still have that dimension. So I know for me personally, stamping straight onto my 12 by 12, unless it's kind of in the background as part of my mixed media, just doesn't work for me. Stamping on a separate piece of paper and then fussy cutting those out and using them as ephemera is far more down my alley. And that is why this really called to me, and to do it this way. Now, for anyone that might be wondering how, my stamps look so good and so dark and all of that, you might not. You might just think I'm an excellent stamper. I have one of those We Are Memory Keepers all-in-one tools, which has a stamping platform. I think there's another thing called like a Misty or something, which is a similar concept. I think Stampin' Up might have one. I don't really know. All I know is that I have little magnets that hold my piece of paper in place so it never moves. And then obviously there's a platform, hence why I called it a stamping platform, that my stamp clings to, so that I ink it, stamp, ink it again, and stamp again, and nothing has moved because the stamp itself is still on its platform and the paper is being held in place by the magnets. So I can literally stamp as many times as I want to get the pigment as dark as I want, without really, having to worry about anything slipping or sliding or moving or anything like that, which I'd never really experienced before. Normally I just have a stamping block and I stamp it once and it just comes out the way it comes out. Because that's the other thing I really like about it too. If I've pulled up. You know how sometimes you stamp and you let go, and you didn't like evenly push onto the stamp, and it doesn't, some bits didn't quite stamp right and what have you. With this kind of a platform, I can just push it down again and get those bits that I missed. So for me, as definitely an inexperienced and not a confident stamper, something like that was definitely up my alley, which was cool. So as I mentioned before, I probably cut 5 I probably stamped everything 5 times, if not 6, and then fussy cut all of those out. And I did leave them black and white purely because I really loved that look against all the colors like what Kylie had done. I did contemplate playing around with the crayons to color them. That could have been really cool to sort of make a little bit of a watercolor effect using those crayons. But in the end, I decided I really liked the black and white. And I think with this layout in particular, with the photo I've chosen to use, the black and white's really sort of eye-catching. Now, for me, the thing that totally makes this layout and just finishes it all off is this second title, this hello coming across. Obviously, the word this and hello don't make a sentence together. As I mentioned before, in my brain, it's kind of like 2 separate titles. It's kind of like I called the layout this, and then I went ahead and called the layout hello. I don't know why. I just really liked it. So yeah, so this one is finished up. I hope you have enjoyed this process, and I hope I have inspired you to pull out your stamps and do some creating. Obviously, I've mentioned Kylie numerous times now, so you know for sure that Kylie was definitely the driver behind this particular layout. Her version was stunning, and it really called to me. So I'm hoping, having new, fresh eyes to see my layout, that might get you having a play with something like this again as well. I loved that technique of the Vicky Bouton crayons through the stencil, and I will be definitely doing that again. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.